Welcome in, everyone, today. We're taking a deep dive into a career path that's so much more than meets the eye.
Right.
Health and safety officer.
Yeah.
You might be thinking hard hats and clipboards, but trust me,
Yeah.
it gets way more
I'm
interesting.
not kidding. We're talking about shaping an entire workplace's safety culture. It's
Yeah.
about making sure everyone goes home in the same condition they came in,
Right.
which, let's be honest, is something we all care about.
Okay, so you've shared some sources with us that lay out what it takes to be a health and safety officer. And wow,
Yeah.
are there some surprises in here?
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing the rules. It's about understanding people and processes.
Right.
Almost like a detective.
It's true.
Hmm.
One of the articles you shared mentioned a health and safety officer who actually uncovered a hidden design flaw
Oh, wow.
in a piece of machinery just by observing how employees were using it.
Really?
They prevented a potential disaster just by paying attention and connecting the dots.
Whoa, that's amazing. It's like they have a sixth sense for hazards.
Right.
So it seems like health and safety officers are kind of like workplace superheroes in a way. They work everywhere, from construction sites and hospitals
Yeah,
to even those mysterious nuclear power plants, right?
absolutely. It's a diverse field with a lot of flexibility.
Mm.
Imagine yourself on a construction site one day, making sure everyone's following fall protection protocols.
Right.
And then the next, you're at a tech company evaluating ergonomic setups in their office.
Talk about variety.
Yeah.
And the tasks themselves seem just as diverse, from conducting those on-site inspections you mentioned
Right.
to investigating accidents, even developing safety programs from scratch.
And that's what makes it such a fascinating career path. You could be a jack of all trades, or you can really delve into a niche that speaks to you, maybe something like industrial hygiene.
Hmm.
There's a surprising amount of specialization available.
Okay, so let's say someone listening is intrigued.
Okay.
What's a good starting point for someone who wants to break into this field?
Well, the RoleCatcher guide you provided recommends looking for internships or entry-level positions even if you're still studying.
Okay.
Hands-on experience is crucial in this line of work.
Yeah.
It's one thing to read about safety regulations, it's another to see them applied or ignored in real-life scenarios.
That's a great point. Nothing beats real-world experience. But what about the academic side of things?
Okay.
The sources mention a bachelor's degree being pretty standard for aspiring health and safety officers.
You're right, a bachelor's degree in a related field is often the first step. We're talking occupational health and safety, environmental science, maybe even something like engineering.
Right.
It gives you that solid foundation. But here's the thing, it's not just about the piece of paper.
You mean those certifications carry some serious weight?
Absolutely. The sources specifically mentioned the Certified Safety Professional, CSP, and Occupational Health and Safety Technician, OHST.
Right.
Having those letters after your name shows employers you're serious, that you've gone above and beyond the basics.
So it's not just what you know. It's how you can prove it and how you've actually used that knowledge in the real world.
Yeah.
It sounds like a career where you never stop learning.
Exactly. Regulations change, new technologies emerge. Even the way we think about workplace safety evolves.
Right.
Remember that article about the impact of AI on risk assessments? That's the future of the field right there. A health and safety officer needs to be adaptable, a lifelong learner.
It's like being a detective. A&D.
Yeah.
A futurist, all rolled into one.
Right.
But all this talk of responsibility makes me wonder, what are some of the bigger challenges someone might face in this role?
Yeah.
It can't all be uncovering hidden dangers and predicting the future of safety tech.
You're right. It's not always smooth sailing. One of the biggest challenges, and this came up in a couple of the articles you shared, is dealing with resistance to change.
Oh, I can imagine trying to convince someone to prioritize safety when it might slow them down or cost a bit more in the short term.
Yeah.
That's got to be...
It definitely takes strong communication and negotiation skills. You need to get everyone on board, from the CEO to the newest hire, and explain why safety is everyone's responsibility. It's about building a culture of safety, not just enforcing rules.
That reminds me of that study you shared about the psychology of workplace safety.
Right.
It's not enough to just put up a warning sign. You need to understand how people think and what motivates them to make safe choices.
Absolutely. A good health and safety officer is a bit of a psychologist, a diplomat, and sometimes even a cheerleader, rallying everyone around the importance of safety.
Sounds like you wear a lot of hats in this role, but that's what makes it so interesting, right?
It is.
So for those who are up for the challenge, what does the career trajectory look like? Where can this path take you?
Well, you might start in an entry-level role, maybe as a safety coordinator, getting your feet wet with inspections, training sessions, that sort of thing.
Right.
But as you gain experience and those all-important certifications, you can climb the ladder.
To something like a health and safety manager right? And
Mm.
from there, maybe even a director level position.
Exactly. And let's not forget about specialization. Remember that industrial hygiene example we talked about?
Right.
That's just one path you could take. The sources you sent even mentioned folks who specialize in areas like ergonomics, fire safety, or even becoming a consultant who helps different organizations improve their safety practices. The possibilities are pretty diverse, which keeps things interesting.
I'm picking up on a theme here. Diverse dynamic and definitely not your average desk job.
Right.
But with all this emphasis on safety, I'd imagine the job outlook for health and safety officers is pretty good.
You're spot on.
Hmm.
The RoleCatcher guide actually predicts a pretty significant growth rate for this field in the coming years. They're saying something like 6% between 2019 and 2029, which is faster than average for most occupations.
Wow.
So job security check.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the multifaceted role of a health and safety officer, the skills and qualifications needed, and the potential career paths. But before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the challenges.
Yeah.
This job can be demanding, both mentally and emotionally.
You're absolutely right. Dealing with potential hazards, accidents, and even just the pressure of keeping people safe day in and day out can take a toll. Self-care is so important in this profession, and it's something we shouldn't shy away from discussing.
So let's talk practicalities. What can someone in this line of work actually do to manage that stress and avoid burning out?
Right.
Because it's one thing to say self-care is important,
Yeah,
but finding the time and energy for it is a whole other story.
I hear you. It's easy to let those things slide when you're caught up in the day-to-day. But one of the most important things, and this was highlighted in that fantastic interview with a veteran health and safety manager, is setting boundaries.
Boundaries,
Yeah.
like with work-life balance.
Exactly. It's so easy to let the job consume you, especially when you're dealing with people's well-being. But you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Making time for yourself, disconnecting from work, recharging those batteries, those aren't luxuries, they're necessities.
That's such a true point. It's like the classic oxygen mask analogy. You have to take care of yourself first before you can help others. So setting those boundaries is key. What else?
Well, this might sound obvious, but the basics really matter here. We're talking
Yeah.
about regular exercise, prioritizing sleep, eating healthy foods, all those things that take a back seat when work gets hectic, but make a world of difference in how we handle stress.
It's like building that culture of safety starts with yourself, right?
Right.
Making sure you're in a good place mentally and physically so you can show up as your best for the job.
You nailed it. And let's not forget about support systems. Having people you can talk to both inside and outside of work who get it, who understand the challenges of this field, that's invaluable.
It's like having a buddy system for your mental health. Someone to debrief with, vent to, or just share a laugh with after a particularly tough day. Because let's face it, even superheroes need sidekicks.
Couldn't agree more.
Huh.
And one more thing that struck me from the materials you shared, something that can actually be a form of self-care in this field is the importance of continuous learning.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. But it makes sense. Keeping your skills sharp, staying up to date with the latest technologies and best practices, that's got to boost your confidence and help you feel more in control, right?
Precisely. When you feel competent and prepared, you're less likely to feel overwhelmed by the challenges of the job. So carving out time for professional development, attending conferences, reading industry journals, even connecting with other health and safety professionals online, that's not just good for your career, it's good for your well-being.
Wow, we've really gone deep on this one, haven't we? We've explored the multifaceted role of a health and safety officer, uncovered the skills and qualifications needed to succeed, and even mapped out the potential career paths that await. And we've done it all while keeping the importance of self-care front and center.
It's a career path that's both demanding and incredibly rewarding. The work you do has a direct impact on people's lives, and that's something pretty special.
Absolutely. So for anyone out there who's energized by the idea of making workplaces safer and healthier, of being that workplace superhero we talked about, it sounds like a career as a health and safety officer might be the perfect fit.
It certainly seems that way.
And as you continue exploring this path, here's a final thought to ponder. With technology evolving at lightning speed, how do you envision the future of health and safety in the workplace? Will we see robots conducting safety inspections, AI-powered hazard prediction? The possibilities are pretty exciting. Keep those minds hungry for knowledge, everyone, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.